Okay, then let's call to order the staff review meeting for the Murray City Planning Commission. It is 6:01 p.m. on April 15th, 2021. Present is Jake Pearson, Jeremy Lowry, Sue Wilson, Lisa Milkevich, Ned Hacker, and Marion Patterson, and Travis Nate is excused. And from staff, we have Zach Smallwood and Susan Nixon, and that looks like all for now. All right, so going through the agenda, we don't have minutes from the April 1st meeting, so nothing to vote on there. Do any of the commissioners have a conflict of interest with any of our agenda items tonight?
No.
Great. Okay. And then no findings of facts, so we'll just jump into our conditional use.
Great. Yeah, so this agenda item number 4 is ProView Windows. It's just a contractor, a window installation contractor in the MG zone. This is pretty straightforward. It doesn't have any street frontage, so no landscaping requirements. There is a dumpster that was installed, a trash enclosure, I should say, a trash enclosure that was installed when the building was built. So that's still there. This is probably the easiest contractor one I've ever written in my entire life. It's just super simple. And yeah, if you guys have questions, I'm happy to answer them on that one.
So they're moving, or they're just expanding in the same building that they're in.
I don't know if that's the case. I think they purchased this building and are now moving into it.
I think Ned might be thinking about another item.
The next one.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Can I?
Oh, yeah. The diesel people.
Can I ask a really small clerical question?
Sure.
On page 5. Page 5, where it's talking about the city department review. The first bullet is just referring to the Murray City Fire Department recommendations. And we say the applicant will need to maintain or update any alarm / sprinkler systems if they are present. What if they're not present? Are they required to have them, or?
That's a good question. They didn't specify either way. But if they need to, then fire will make them do it during the business license section when they apply for that.
Just reading it, I thought as the owner, I'd be like, oh, great, I'll take them out. If we don't have them there, then I don't have to maintain it.
Yeah, no, I think the whole building is sprinkled, if I remember correctly. This was really just kind of a result of COVID, with them not being able to just ask the applicant if there is sprinkling system there. But they would verify that at the business license stage.
Okay, so so we don't need to clarify it, just let it be, and they can clarify it when, okay.
Yeah, because they would have to follow it anyway.
I think, Zach, based on the square footage, that they should have a fire sprinkler in there, but
yeah, and I'm sure they probably did build it with one, but and you can always ask the applicant as well if there is one, just if you're curious. So
Okay, I guess I don't know if I should ask, because then if I ask and they don't have it, are we getting into the discussion whether our wording's wrong and they have to have it, or just let it be and let the fire department?
The fire department's requirements trump everything, pretty much. What they say go in the world. So I say you're fine to just leave it, because if they don't have it and need it, they'll be required to do it anyway. And then the conditional use, I think it's on there as well, but they have to follow international fire code guidelines anyway.
Okay, any other questions for agenda item number 4? Okay, then let's move on to number 5, stroker diesel for vehicle sales.
yes, I'm doing that one. You all saw this stroker diesel about a year ago for auto sales at the building at 366 West. He is now proposing to move the auto sales portion of that business to the adjacent other side of the building at 364 West in Unit A, and we'll keep the existing space for just the auto repair where he's been. So he needs a conditional use in order to relocate the auto sales portion of it only to Unit A to the south. And based on the parking that he has available to him, he has more than what he needs. And he has indicated that all the vehicles that will be for sale will be within inside the unit, which is the whole intent. He wants all of his vehicles, which is only up to five, to be inside for security, which is the reason he's doing this application, so that he can have them inside only, and he will not have any vehicles outside. But that's one of the conditions also, is that all the vehicles will be inside the building. He does have, there is one ADA compliant parking stall there now. It's kind of halfway between the two businesses, the repair and the sales. So he's pretty much met that condition already. And that's the gist of it. I'm happy to answer questions if you have any.
Any questions? Pretty straightforward.
I have a quick question. It's just so I understand. It looks like on the map, the entire lot, that entire block is outlined. Does that mean the conditional use applies to that entire area? How does that work?
Oh, good question. For our mapping purposes, we can only, we go by the property, which the property is one parcel, but when it's conditional uses, we go by each individual unit. So okay. This conditional use would be only specifically for the 364 West Unit A. Good question, though.
Thanks.
But for our mapping, we have to include that whole parcel because it is on.
That makes sense.
So I have a question. What makes it a requirement that you have to have laboratory facilities in a particular business versus not?
That's a building code question, but based on what I've been told over the years is if they have customers coming, then the customers have to have that. They have to have it available for a customer. And or their employees if they have any employees too. So if it's not right in the unit or there, they have to have access to one way or the other.
Isn't that part of the ADA?
I think so.
Yeah,
it's a building code. Yeah. So
yeah, I think it was that's an ADA requirement as well.
Well, then my question I was thinking right before you asked that, Mr. Lowry, was if it's ADA requirement, do they have to meet ADA standards for turning radius from wheelchair and
yes,
pull bars and so on and so on?
Yep.
Absolutely. Yes. If it is an ADA requirement, yes, they would have to meet the ADA.
So I
can shed a little light on that too, because at our rental property on 9th East, we have an ADA stall in one of the units, and it just has to be accessible within so many feet of each of the unit. You don't actually have to have ADA in each, in each business, as long as there's an ADA within a certain period of time and it is or number of feet, and it's accessible for someone to use if they need it. So you're covered if you have it within the actual unit, but if there's one accessible within, I can't remember how many feet it is, but then you still meet the requirement.
And then my question would be, we don't know the dimensions per se of the bathroom, and I'm assuming that's okay because they'll come look at it before they issue them a license. Right?
That is correct. Yes. I'm pretty sure they had to have an ADA bathroom in the existing business because that's a big unit that they have. And the distance from this proposed location to the existing one is I think it's 100 feet, Sue, but I'm not sure. The bathroom, I think, has to be 100, 150 feet, and it obviously would be within that. It's probably more like 50 to 60 feet because this unit is 50 feet deep. So.
All right. Thank you.
Good question. Yeah. Any others?
Yeah, any other?
Okay. Oh, do you want to go to the next one? Sorry,
Yeah.
Marilyn.
Yep. Let's go
Okay,
there.
so Fashion Place Mall, they are back again for, this is their third time for applying for conditional use for the overflow parking for auto storage, auto inventory, and employee parking during the months of January through October. Last time we gave them a 2-year conditional use that expires the end of this month. They've applied to do it again for 2 more. Well, they've applied to have the auto inventory. We as staff recommended another 2 years. If the planning commission wants to just give them a blanket one, that's up to you, but we're suggesting another 2 years. The thought is that typically dealerships should have enough space to accommodate their inventory. But Fashion Place does have this satellite parking that is available during the months of January through October. The vehicles have to be taken off through November and December. They have been doing that. There's not been a problem with that. And based on some photos and recent going to the sites, they, are not in violation. The property is up to code with the parking stall curbing and the striping and landscaping. So.
And the parking lot belongs to the mall, right? Is that?
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
There are not a lot of commercial, there's no residential there, so there are not a lot of people to complain.
True, and actually this originally started as a complaint back in 2018 from the result of some of the dealerships not having adequate parking and the customers having and employees parking on the street and et cetera. So this was kind of a solution, right, I guess, to that.
I remember that.
So I read through the minutes from those last 2 minutes meetings on this just to refresh our memory of what our concerns were. And on the surface, it makes sense. But I want to make sure we all discuss and cover in the meeting that it was always intended to be short term. There was a commissioner when this initially, the topic initially came to us that was concerned about this, without regulation. And this could lead to that if we keep allowing car dealers to buy every parking lot that's available or rent, whatever. So I think it's worth discussing a little bit. I don't know.
Yeah, I wanted to have that discussion too, because I don't know. It does seem like a situation that's working out for both parties. And so I don't know if it is necessary for them to keep coming back, to keep applying. If it's, seems like it's working out.
I guess I should wait till the meeting, but for the same reasons we had concerns the first 2 times, though, if we're not monitoring this and tracking it, it'll start occurring throughout the city. Everyone will be renting their parking lots to car dealers. And is that a bad thing? But car dealers should be able to store their own vehicles and track their own vehicles and build a parking lot if they need to have 2 or 3 tier parking garages for their cars, and to start spreading them out throughout the city might not be ideal for our city.
Yeah.
You're worried about the precedence that it sets a little bit. Would you be open to an approval for a year or 2, but it would be the final approval, and then they need to find other options at that point?
Yeah, that's what I'd like to maybe discuss in the meeting. Just let them. I'd rather keep monitoring it than just let it happen. And then 2, when they came to us the first time, they said this was temporary. And I feel like if maybe they were pulling the wool over our eyes because they haven't come back and said, we've been applying and trying to buy these purchases. We're trying to build a parking lot. We expect another 6 months for it to occur. It's just keep asking for an extension.
Yeah, I think if you're concerned about precedence, if you renew it now, then it's going to be assumed that it will be renewed again in 2 years, and so it's kind of sending that message that either it's acceptable and it's okay, or hey, we get that you're in a jam, but figure out how to get out of that jam.
Mm-hmm.
If I could mention, we do have a land use category number 4600, which does allow for automobile parking in the commercial zone as a conditional use. So they can apply for automobile parking only, but the kicker is it's not permanent, where this one they can't have in November, December. So there is a difference, as far as making it a permanent for if they argued the automobile parking, they couldn't do it year round.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's a lot to talk about in the meeting because I think, yeah. Any other questions about this application before we move on?
I just had a quick question about the application mentioned 300 spaces, and it was mentioned earlier that it's less. Is that an issue that the application has twice as many spaces, not quite that, but a lot more spaces than are actually available? Or is the application the same regardless, no matter how many spaces there are?
That's a great question, and I actually wondered that myself when he brought the application in. I didn't write the staff report of the previous two, but the application, the request has always been for 300 vehicles. We approved 200, but when I looked at their delineated parking stalls and counted them basically and verified it, there's only 196. So I don't know if that means they have 300 if they revolve the 300, or if they, good question, because there's only 196 available, period. And that delineation has never changed from the beginning. So that's a good question. I wonder the same thing. I'm not sure if he was aware of that or if he just kind of threw out a number and filled out the application. And
so could we approve this permit and change the requirement from 300 or the maximum to whatever the number is?
Well, yeah, I did on my staff report for the recommendation. I do have in there that it be approved for the 196.
Okay.
I think I did anyway.
And we're okay with the application stating the 300. We can approve it, overriding whatever that says.
Yes, you have authority to do what they show they are able to accommodate. Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. Had they shown 300, then yeah, we could go with 300, but there are definitely only 196 stalls shown on the site plan. And I've got that as condition number 5. It just says that the number of parking, auto storage parking is limited to is 196. So.
Which will prevent them from parking down the center of the parking strips, or the road between the space between the parking, the different sides of the parking rows.
Correct.
Should we put the number 196 on number 5?
That would be a good idea. I mean, you could do that. Yes, that would be a little more specific.
Well, we can see what they say.
Yeah, let's talk to the applicant and see maybe how that number got put. And because it sounds like each time that has been checked in, they've just been using the 196 stalls that they had. So I don't know if they were trying to get 300. So worth asking them for sure.
I think in the spaces designated, there are not 300 spaces.
Correct. There's 196 designated. Yes.
So they're maxing out what's been designated to them.
Yes.
Okay. Anything else about number 6? Okay, let's move on to number 7. A lot line adjustment.
Okay, well, we've sure been getting a lot of these lately and probably will be getting more of them. So based on state law, the land use authority can grant approval for boundary line adjustments for lots in subdivisions, whether they're in the same subdivision or not, with review of making sure they're in compliance with regulations. This application is that exact scenario where there's 2 different subdivisions and the adjacent property owners are wanting to basically align the property line with the existing chain link fence, which it has not been. And so by moving the property line 9 to 10 feet to the east, and making it consistent with the existing chain link fence, then it brings it into where they've always thought it was anyway. So it's kind of a correction, correcting what they thought was the case. So based on, and it's basically transferring 831 feet from parcel 1 to the east at 5847 to parcel 2 at 5859. Both properties are well above the minimums required as far as the area. Both meet the setbacks. You will notice on the setback diagram that I have that shows the homes, there is a patio attached to the home at 5847. It does look like it encroaches in its 25-foot setback, but from my understanding is the posts of the patio meet the 25-foot setback, but we might have to verify that. And I'm not sure if that was added on after the home was built, but the home should meet the 25-foot setback. And then the property owner, if the planning commission approves this, they would have to record the amended plat to amend the lot lines. Any questions?
Pretty straightforward, I think. Okay. Then let's do agenda item number 8, a zone map amendment for Jefferson Street.
Great, thank you for your, thanks for that. Yeah, this is for a zone change for 3 properties located on Jefferson Street between 6556 and 6566 South. They are in total, they combine to equal about 2.68 acres. The applicant would like to change it from the R18 zone, which is 8,000 square foot lots, to the R16 zone, which is 6,000 square foot lots. We don't have any concepts to share. Obviously, that we typically don't do that as part of a rezoning application. And so now I've just lost my train of thought, which is fine. So yeah, looking at this, so this doesn't require a general plan amendment because the low density residential land use designation on the general plan allows for R18 zone and the R16 zone as both low density type development, single family developments. So also the recently adopted Fashion Place West plan calls these areas out as established residential areas and says except, additional density might be appropriate in these areas. So we are recommending approval for this. We don't think that it has a significant impact comparatively to, say, like your RM zones, your multifamily unit zones. We see this as kind of a context sensitive, smaller density increase than what could potentially happen. And looking at some of it, this area is filled with really narrow and deep lots. All of these are very narrow, deep lots. So we anticipate that little things like this might pop up from time to time in this area. So I'm sure you all have questions, so I'll just jump right into it and see what I can answer.
My first question is, if we do the R16, does that just allow for single family detached on a 6,000 square foot lot? Or does that allow for a twin home or?
It could allow for a twin home. It would have to go through the planned unit development, the PUD process, which does require a hearing before you guys. You have to approve that. And I mean, you would have to reduce those setbacks to 0 on twin homes to allow that. But yes, that is a potential that could be done. Otherwise, yes, it's 6,000 square foot lots.
But it wouldn't allow for like a mixed use or a higher density other than just perhaps a twin home on the 6,000 square foot?
Nope. So under the R18, they would be allowed 15 lots max. And under an R16, they'd be allowed 19. So it doesn't matter any way they bend themselves backwards, forwards, in any way, it's 19. So
that was my other question. And then is this going to be consolidated into one parcel?
I assume if the rezone and everything goes through, I would assume so that it would. I do expect it to become not necessarily combined into one parcel, but probably subdivided in some way. So
okay.
It'll probably come back as some sort of full-on subdivision.
Is the applicant the owner of the property, or is there a different ownership at this point?
That is I think. I don't remember if he has closed on the property. I know for sure that he was under contract, but
yeah, I show Holmquist as the property owner and Landforge as the developer.
okay. Yeah, so he might just still be under contract with it, so.
Have you had a lot of other public comment? I know we got that email.
Yeah, you've received one email, and then we had additional email, and then one person that we know of that wants to comment today. And then I've also had 2 phone calls, and I think one of them was from one of the people we received an email from.
Okay.
We're coming down to the end of our time. I have a question, Zach.
Sure.
So I did calculation, came out with the same number of houses, if it's 8,000 and whether it's 6,000, same number that you just said. But you're going to have to have access to these properties. So you're going to take up some of the property for access road, driveway, whatever. Does that access eliminate the amount of overall space that's there and then would decrease the number of properties that you could have on the open space versus the road?
It could. It's kind of complicated. So yes and no. Under a normal subdivision, yes. But with PUD, they could still get to that 19. We wouldn't subtract that out. We do everything pretty much by gross density. So we usually don't subtract the road out of that.
Okay.
I know we're out of time. I had a question that I missed asking you on item number 7. It's just about sending out notices. When we, in the public notice, we stated that we sent it out to anyone that was in 500 feet of the subject property. But then in the report, we said we sent it out to anybody that's within 300 feet on page 5 in the report under public comments. If it's a typo, I'm not concerned. But if it's where we've actually only sent it out to 300 feet within and we should have sent it out to 500, is there, is that a concern? It's a typo, or did we not send them out to the right people?
It's over 2 acres, so it should have been, hold on a second.
Item number 7, the 2 lots.
And maybe while Susan's looking that up, maybe we can just answer it in the meeting since it's 6:30.
Okay, it was 400 feet.
Perfect.
We milled it within 400 feet.
And then what was required? 400 feet?
400 feet was required, yes, and that's what I did, because I'm the one that does the buffers, so it was 400 feet, so.
So typos, it don't affect what we did.
It was
We
a
did
typo, correct, that's correct. Yep.
Okay.
Perfect.
We
Thank
need
you.
to acknowledge that just so to keep it straight, or I don't know.
It's based on the number of acreage, and it's, we go from 2 acres to 5, and then depending on the height, if it's a height involved with the building, then it depends on that too. So there are some variables. That's kind of my job, and it's 400 feet. So I probably just didn't mention that to Zach.
Is there any legality about it? Should we acknowledge our error and just move forward just now, or in the public meeting say 500, but 400 is what's required and what we did?
I think it's just a typo.
Okay, so because it's a typo, we don't need to bring it up. Gotcha.
Yeah, we didn't missend them out. Okay, let's get started. I'm going to call to order the Murray City Planning Commission meeting for Thursday, April 15th, 2021. It is 6:31 p.m. And present this evening are Commissioners Jake Pearson, Jeremy Lowry, Sue Wilson, Lisa Malkiewicz, Ned Hacker, and I myself am Maren Patterson. I'm the chair. Excused is Travis Ney. And from staff, we have Zach Smallwood and Susan Nixon. As the chair of the Murray City Planning Commission, I, Maren Patterson, have determined that due to infectious disease COVID-19 novel coronavirus, holding an in-person meeting with an anchor location presents a substantial risk to the health and safety of those in attendance. Under these circumstances, Utah Code 52-4-2074 allows for electronic meetings to be held without an anchor location, so long as the public had an opportunity to view the meeting and submit public comments. We are holding tonight's Planning Commission meeting via video conference, and the meeting is being live streamed at www.murraycitylive.com. If you have a public comment to submit to the Planning Commission, please do so via email at planningcommission@murray.utah.gov. We will begin with our agenda items this evening. We have some business items to take care of first. Our approval of minutes, we did not have minutes from our April 1st meeting, so we will move on to our conflict of interest. Do any of the commissioners have a conflict of interest with any of the agenda items this evening?
No.
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 I do not as well. So we will move on to agenda item number 3, approval of finding of facts. And we did not have a finding of facts for this packet either. So we will move on to our conditional use permit agenda. Item number 4, Joshua Johnson is applicant with ProView Windows requesting a conditional use permit for a window contractor located at 4649 South Cherry Street. Is the applicant here tonight? Okay, great. We will have a staff report by Zachary Smallwood.
Great, let me just get my screen all set up. All right, can you guys all see my screen all right?
Yes.
Great, thank you. All right, so yeah, this is a conditional use permit for a window contracting business located, like the chair said, at 4649 South Cherry Street. It's located just about here. Cherry Street is about, I don't know why I said that. I don't know what west it is. I think it's like 400 west. So, but I was going to say just north of 4800 south is what I was going to say. And the building 4649 is here. It's in a complex of 4 industrial buildings and has cross access. 5 industrial buildings and has cross access across those to access the building. It is in the MG zone, and the contract construction services are a conditional use in the manufacturing zone. So just real quickly, this is a 11,594 approximately square foot building. It's largely an open storage area. Site plan showing the parking located in the area. There's 2 overhead doors that you'll see in some photos here in a moment. This is a little hard to see, but you can see these slanted lines that are the outline of the building. Like I'd mentioned, this is the first floor showing so this is originally was constructed as 2 units and is operating as 1. So this is the front office areas with restrooms, break rooms, stuff like that. Large existing warehouse in the back. Then there is a second floor, kind of like a mezzanine level, that has additional storage and another office or 2 up here. A couple photos that I took back when it was spring for a minute before it turned to winter again. So you can see over on the bottom left is the overhead doors and the docking bay. You can see just pretty basic side or photos. You can see they do have an existing dumpster enclosure in the bottom right here. And so it's pretty straightforward. Staff is recommending that the Planning Commission approve the conditional use permit, subject to the 6 conditions that are on your screen and are in the staff report. Are there any questions I can answer for you?
Any questions? Okay. Then let's have the applicant, maybe, do you need them to raise their hand, Zach, or?
Yeah, I know who it is, so I will.
Yeah.
And now I've lost my marbles. There we go. Okay, Josh, can you speak?
Yeah, can you,
Okay. Yes, we can hear you.
Welcome.
Perfect.
to our
I'm gonna-
meeting. If you would like to state your name and address for the record.
my name is Josh Johnson. Are you looking for the first aid business address or my personal address?
Either address.
Okay, so the business address is 4647 South Cherry Street in Murray.
Great. And have you had an opportunity to read the conditions of approval for your application?
Yes, I have.
Great. And will you be able to comply with all of those?
I will.
Awesome. Is there any additional information you would like to give us regarding your request?
Solely as business operations go, like Zach was mentioning, a lot of the warehouse space is just open storage. I'm a window dealer. The windows I have are delivered to us. I store them until they're loaded up on our trucks and taken out in the mornings. A lot of our operation starts early morning, and then throughout the day, I'm usually the only one in the building. And so I think the use of the building shouldn't be overused as far as any of that goes. So it's not going to overpopulate the area, I guess. But other than that, yeah, I don't think there's much more unless there's questions that you have as far as our operations and use of the building that I can answer.
Great. Did any commissioners have a question for the applicant at this time? No. Okay. Then what we will do is we will open this meeting for public comment regarding this item. If you would like to make a comment on this agenda item, you may do so by emailing planningcommission@murray.utah.gov. Or if you, I don't know if anyone is registered to speak to this item. Okay. So we will just open it for email items and wait a minute to see if any public comments come in.
I hadn't received any comments before this item, for this item at all. So I don't think we have to keep it open very long. So it's entirely up to you guys.
Okay, great. Then I will close the public comment period without any information or emails coming in. Discussion the commissioners would like to make, or I'll entertain a motion.
Madam Chairman, I'll make a motion that the Planning Commission approve a conditional use permit to allow the operations of a window contracting business at the property address 4649 South Cherry Street, subject to conditions 1 through 6.
Great. Do I have a second?
Madam Chair, I'll second.
Okay. So I have a motion made by Commissioner Hacker to approve the conditional use permit to allow the operation of a window contracting business at the property addressed 4649 South Cherry Street, subject to the 6 conditions, with a second by Commissioner Malkiewicz.
Excuse me 1 second. Could I interrupt one? The property is addressed, it has two addresses, 4647 and 4649. I don't know if you want to indicate that on it's the same property, but the building does have two separate addresses.
I will amend my motion to include both of those addresses in that case.
Great, thank you. Is there any additional discussion on that motion? Okay, then we can call for a vote.
Okay, Commissioner Hacker,
Yes.
Commissioner Milkevich,
Yes.
Commissioner Lowry,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilson,
Yes.
Commissioner Pearson,
Yes.
and Chair Patterson.
Yes. So motion passes, and congratulations and welcome to Murray.
I appreciate it. I don't want to take a lot of time. Could I ask one question really quick?
Sure.
Now that this process has been approved, do I just come into the city offices to apply for a business license with Murray City? And how long do I have to wait until I can begin that process and that request?
You can actually do that. Sorry, Madam Chair, if you don't mind. Okay. You can come in tomorrow if you want and apply for your business license, and you don't have to wait. Susan's usually really quick at getting those conditional use permits done. So, but this is pretty much your approval. So you can come in and apply for that tomorrow, as early as tomorrow.
Appreciate it, guys. You're great to work with. Thanks for your help.
Thanks.
Good luck with your business.
Thank you.
Being
Bye.
here.
Yep.
Okay. Let's move on to agenda item number 5, Stroker Diesel requesting a conditional use permit to allow vehicle sales located at 364 West, 6100 South, number A. Do we know if the applicant is here?
I believe so. I believe he is here. Yes.
Then we'll have a staff report by Susan Nixon.
Okay. I'm hoping you can see my screen.
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. So this application is for Stroker Diesel for conditional use to have auto sales at the address of 364 West, 6100 South in Suite A. The property is located within the Kramer Industrial Park, which is a large industrial park with numerous buildings. The conditional use would correspond with the specific unit and not for the entire property. The property is in our MG manufacturing zone. A year or so ago, the applicant applied for a auto sales at 366 West, which shown on here is the building on the north half. He has auto sales there and a diesel repair business. He now is requesting to move just the auto sales portion of the business just to the building to the south, and will occupy Unit A at 364 West and Unit A, and retain the entire building at 366 West for the existing repair service portion. The property at 364 does have 2 overhead doors. Parking per our parking standards, parking is not allowed in front of overhead doors, so the 2 stalls that are striped there would have to be removed, but there is adequate parking as shown here. Mr. Whitaker, the applicant, is the only person who would be operating with the auto sales portion of it. And based on the office space that's in there, he only needs 1 parking stall. I should have said his application is specifically to have auto sales with 5 vehicles inside the building. On this photos here, it shows the 1 ADA stall, which is actually located between the 2 units, 364 and 366. And then the 2 bottom photos show that there's more than adequate parking. His site plan shows all the parking here on the north and adjacent to the building here on the east. There could be 2 stalls here at the south of Unit A and 1 over here also. So one of those could be designated as the customer parking, and the ADA stall is approximate this location. The unit is a 2,000 square foot space, and he has access to a total of what I calculated of 29 parking stalls, and he is only required to have 19, which would include the one ADA stall. The landscaping, since there is no frontage to this specific unit, he would not need to install any landscaping because there's no area for it. And so based on that, staff is recommending that we approve the conditional use based on 7 conditions of approval as outlined. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, well, if there are no questions, then we will hear from the applicant. When you are unmuted, if you could state your name and address for the record.
And sorry for me cutting in, but if the applicant could click the raise hand button for me.
Sorry, Zach.
You're fine.
Time.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay.
Great.
What did you need? Sorry.
If you would state your name and address for the record.
Richard Whitaker, 366 West, 6100 South, Murray, or 364 West, 6100 South.
Great, thank you. And the conditions of approval are on the screen. Have you had a chance to review those?
Yes.
And are you able to comply with all of those conditions?
Yes.
Great. Is there any additional information that you would like to give regarding this request?
Not unless you guys have any questions for me.
Okay, do the commissioners have any questions for the applicant?
Nope.
Okay. Yeah.
Mrs. Patterson, I might have a question. I have one question, and I'm not sure if it's the applicant I should be asking or the city. So I don't think in our report we discussed any waste or byproducts produced. When you repair cars, it gets messy. Sometimes there's oil or grease, and sometimes chemicals are used to clean it up. Or also when you're selling cars, you clean them. And I don't know if there's any waste that occurs that we haven't addressed yet. Should I ask the city or the applicant?
There really would be no waste in that dealership in 364A because they're all trucks that have been worked on and are already cleaned. So basically like show trucks is what I do. So there's really no cleaning. I mean, mopping floors, that'd be about it just to keep the floor clean.
All right. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks for clarifying that. Yeah, thank you. Okay, well then, at this point, we will open this a public meeting or the meeting for public comment about this agenda item. If you would like to make a comment to this agenda item, you can do so by emailing planningcommission@murray.utah.gov. Or if there were any people that were registered, you can make a live comment. Did we have anyone registered, Zach, to make a live comment for this?
I don't think so. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
We didn't receive any prior to the meeting either. So.
Okay. Well, then we can just leave this open for just a minute and see if we get any email comments. Anything come in?
I have not received anything, no.
All right. Then I will close the public comment portion of this meeting and open it up for discussion or a motion.
To approve a conditional use permit to allow the operation of a vehicle sales business at the property address located at 364 West, 6100 South, unit number A, subject to the following 7 conditions.
Great. Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
Okay. I have a motion by Commissioner Lowry to approve the conditional use permit to allow the operation of vehicle sales business at property address 364 West, 6100 South, number A, subject to the 7 conditions in the packet, and a second by Mr. Hacker. Is there any discussion on that motion? Okay, then we can take a vote.
Okay, Commissioner Lowry,
Yes.
Commissioner Hacker,
Yes.
Commissioner Milkovich,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilson,
Yes.
Commissioner Pearson,
Yes.
and Chair Patterson.
Yes. Congratulations, your conditional use permit is approved, and good luck with your business.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here. Okay, let's move on to agenda item number 6. Fashion Place Mall and Larry H. Miller Auto Group requesting a conditional use permit to allow, or I guess really extend the conditional use permit that they have for storage and inventory at the property address 6011 South State Street. Is the applicant here this evening? If they would maybe click raise their hand button. And then we will have a presentation by a staff report, I guess, by Susan Nixon.
Thank you. As indicated from Ms. Patterson, this application is for conditional use for auto storage at 6011 South State. This is actually the satellite parking for Fashion Place Mall, located across the street at 6100 South, and is a large, over 5-acre parcel. It's located in our commercial CD zone. Automobile parking is allowed by way of a conditional use, and the application is for 100, and the application was for 300 autos, to store 300 autos. There is 671 stalls at the satellite location. I'm going to come down and look at the site plan here so know more what we're talking about. The Planning Commission granted a conditional use originally in 2018 for this same application, and conditional use was granted for 1 year. The applicant reapplied again in 2019 for another conditional use, and the Planning Commission granted a 2-year conditional use. So that conditional use expires at the end of this month. The property is actually in good condition. It does meet the code as far as it is striped accordingly for the parking stalls. There is appropriate parking stops, curbing for the vehicles. And there is landscaping in the designated areas that they were required to do around the perimeter of the property. And let's see. So the application was for 300 vehicles, to store 300 vehicles at the site. And based on their site plan that designates specific locations for the stalls available, or that they're allowed to have, by way the Fashion Place is authorizing the Larry Miller Group to have access to and to park vehicles. It shows 196 designated stalls. So I don't know the discrepancy of that, but staff is recommending that the Planning Commission approve it for the specific amount of 196 as indicated on the site plan given to us from the applicant. And I think that covers it. If Planning Commission has any questions. Recommending approval, sorry. We're recommending approval for the conditional use subject to the 6 conditions as outlined.
Great. Are there any questions for staff? Okay. Then if the applicant would click raise their hand button and state your name and address for the record.
So I don't see the app.
Yeah, I don't see. And he did get the staff report mailed and emailed. And I believe Mr. Smallwood sending the link for the meeting to join the meeting. I tried to contact him today. I did not get a hold of him, so. I don't know if the planning commission wants to review the application or continue it.
I do want to ask the commission, because I know we had quite a few questions that we wanted to ask of the applicant. So what do the commissioners want to do with this application?
I'm fine voting on it. If we want to wait, I'm fine with that too.
Because this is a third time I've seen this application, and each time they've told me it was a temporary fix to a problem, I would love to talk to them about what the long-term fix is and stick with the original intent as this being a short-term fix. So I'd love to be able to talk to them, but my questions would be to the staff. If I ask for us to extend this item, will they miss the deadline for April and therefore be out of compliance? And what does that mean?
Well, the conditional use does expire at the end of this month. The next meeting we could continue it to would be the May 6th meeting. And I guess for the 6 days that would be from the end of April to May 6th, I guess maybe they could have to take their vehicles off the property. Worst case.
Did they have any actually on site when you went?
They did on the, yeah. This photo right here does show that the line of cars right there, and then this truck right there. Those are parked in the designated stalls, and I think they're like Lexus cars or something. So they did have a few, but not much.
Would it be possible to propose that we extend the conditional use for 30 days and request them to come to the next planning commission meeting?
You could do that, yes.
I would probably propose we do something like that. I understand Commissioner Mickavich's concerns.
Okay. In order, if you want to continue it, if you could specify the date, and then we would not have to send out mailings and notices, etc. If it's a date specific, otherwise we'll have to renotice. And of course, I would have to make sure that the applicant could be present for them.
I would propose that we extend the conditional use permit to June 15th, 2021, which should give them sufficient time to be able to attend an upcoming planning commission meeting of their choosing.
Do you mean May 20th?
No, I would give them more time so they have, in case of a scheduling conflict, they have 3 or 4 planning commission meetings to choose from.
Okay, so
I think we could extend the conditional use permit 30 days, but set the next meeting,
Oh, understood. Okay, that's either way is great. I think if we can just give them if we give them it's, and I'm fine either way. My point was if we extended it for maybe 60 days and then if they had a conflict, they would be able to choose from 2 or 3 different planning commission dates. For the meetings.
Yeah, I think Susan was saying though, if we let them choose, then we'd have to renotice.
Oh, understood. Okay.
Yeah, and I think because we've already seen this 3 times, I really feel like May is plenty of time for them to get a representative to the meeting because they have more than one person that can represent. If I'm not mistaken, we've had other people come to the meeting to represent. So, I'm good with a continuation would have either the May 6th meeting or the May 20th, correct, Susan?
Correct. And if I might want to just mention that May 6th is the zone change application on Bullion Street. So that.
So the 20th might be a better.
20th.
Well, the 20th.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I also just say I appreciate Mr. Lowry's suggestion, and I appreciate Commissioner Wilson supporting it. I also want to say that I feel like, I don't know if it's my opinion strictly that we should talk to the applicant about the permanency of this application or the temporary fix, but also in respect to all the public who commented and other commissioners who made those comments in the last 2 meetings, stated concerns around that. So that's where my interest comes from. So I like that idea, May 20th.
Any other thoughts or discussions about that? Yeah, I totally agree, Commissioner Malkiewicz. I think we've had 2 meetings already where the same, what their answers are, now. So I think that having the applicant here would be very helpful. Okay, so then I will entertain a motion with those changes. Continuation, right? Would that be what it is, Susan? A continuation of this
Yes.
application, a 30-day extension of the conditional use permit, correct?
Correct.
And a continuation to May 20th. We need to state that in the motion, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I think if I'm probably just being overly cautious, but I think it needs to be 2 motions. One to extend the conditional use permit, and then
actually,
one.
And if my math is correct, if we're doing a 30-day extension, that would be May 15th, and the meeting we're proposing is May 20th.
It expires at the end of April, so it would be a 30-day extension. Is that correct, Susan? At the end of April.
Yes.
So
Okay.
So they would have plenty of time, all of April, to park their cars there and to come back and represent themselves for this application at the May 20th meeting.
Perfect.
Correct. Yes.
So we need 2 motions.
That's just me being.
I agree, Zach. Thank you for pointing that out.
Which motion do you want to have come first there, Zach?
Go for it, Maren.
I was going to say, let's do the continuation first.
I agree.
Okay. Does anyone want to make that motion?
Jeremy, are you going to do it, or do you want me to do it?
Sure, I'm sure I'll do it. Hopefully I have it. I have the dates right. I apologize. Madam Chair, I would make a motion for a continuation to the May 20th meeting for this application.
Perfect. Do I have a second?
I'll second. Oh, sorry, Lisa.
No, thanks, Sue. Okay, so I have a motion from Commissioner Lowry to continue this application item to the May 20th Planning Commission meeting, and a second by Commissioner Wilson. Do we need a roll call vote, Zach, or can we all say on favor?
I'll do a roll call just
Okay.
for fun, just to make sure. All right, so Commissioner Lowry,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilson,
Yes.
Commissioner Pearson,
Yes.
Commissioner Milkevich,
Yes.
Commissioner Hacker,
Yes.
and Commissioner Patterson.
Yes. Okay, so motion passes. So our second motion would be a motion to grant a 30-day extension of the conditional use permit that expires at the end of May 2021. Is that right?
Yes, to extend it to the end of May. Correct.
Okay. Does anyone want to make that motion?
I can make that motion as well. So I make a motion to extend for this application to extend the conditional use permit for 30 days to the end of May 2021.
I'll second that motion.
Okay. So I have a motion to extend the conditional use permit for 30 days to expire at the end of May 2021. That motion is made by Commissioner Lowry and a second by Commissioner Milkevich. So we can take a vote.
Perfect. Commissioner Lowry,
Yes.
Commissioner Milkevich,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilson,
Yes.
Commissioner Pearson,
Yes.
Commissioner Hacker,
Yes.
and Chair Patterson.
Yes. Okay. Motion passes. Thank you. Great job, everyone. Let's move on to agenda item number 7, a subdivision review. The applicants are Jason Graham and Dan Burkhart requesting a lot line adjustment, amending lot 2 of the Tim and Sherry Wyatt subdivision and lot 1 of the Irvin Burkhart lot split amendment located at 5859 and 5847 South Murray Parkway Ave. Is the applicant here this evening?
I believe they are. I believe I saw them.
Okay, we'll have our staff report.
Thank you. As indicated, this is a lot line adjustment between two existing lots in two different subdivisions. The Tim and Sherry Wyatt subdivision and the Irvin Burkhart lot split amended subdivision. The two properties are located off of Murray Parkway Avenue at 5847 and 5859. Both properties are in our existing R18 zone. And a couple of photos of the subject properties. Upper left is the home at 5859, and upper right is the home at 5847. The two lower photos are showing the existing chain link fence, which is the request to move the existing property line to be consistent with the chain link fence. Both of the properties are well above the required minimum area of 8,000 square feet. The property parcel number 2 has over 22,000 square feet, and parcel number 1 has over 17,000. They are transferring a total of 831 square feet from parcel 1 to parcel 2, and moving the boundary line approximately 9 to 10 feet. And again, that would to make the property line consistent with the existing chain link fence. So this is kind of correcting something that I thought was the case to begin with. Both of the properties currently meet and will meet based on with the adjustment of the property line, will both meet the existing setbacks for the R18 zone, which is 25 feet front and rear, and a minimum of 8 feet on one side, a total of 20, as shown on the diagrams that you're seeing now. The property on the right-hand side at 5847, you will notice there's a patio attached to the home. And based on the information that I'm aware of, the patio posts meet the setback of 25 feet, but we may need to verify that. And so let's see. So any adjustments of existing subdivisions per state code does require the land use authority, our planning commission, but is required to review the application and give approval if the commission finds that it meets the regulations. Subsequent to that, if the commission approves it, then the applicant would need to record a new plat amending the two existing lots in both subdivisions. And that would be coordinated with our engineering department and the applicant and Sully County. So based on that, staff is recommending that planning commission approve the requested boundary line adjustment for the Tim and Wyatt subdivision, lot number 2, and the Urban Burkhart lot split, number 1, subject to the 5 conditions as outlined. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for staff? All right. Then if the applicant is here, if they would click raise your hand button so that we can unmute you, and then you can state your name and address for the record.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, good evening.
Hello, I'm Jason Graham. I live at 5859 South Murray Parkway Avenue.
Great, thank you for being here. Have you had an opportunity to read the conditions of approval?
Yes, I have.
And are you able to comply with those?
I can.
Great, wonderful. Is there any additional information you would like to give us regarding your application?
No, I don't think so. I would say that I worked with Susan to get all my ducks in a row, and she was very helpful and very responsive. So she has my thanks for that.
She is great. Yes. Okay, then we will open this meeting for public comment regarding this agenda item. If there's anyone that would like to make a comment on this item, you may do so by emailing planningcommission@murray.utah.gov. Or if there's anyone that wants to participate that's registered through the Zoom webinar, they can now make a live comment. Did we have anyone register, Zach, for this agenda item? Okay. Then we will open it to receive email public comments. So we will leave it open for a minute or so.
While we're waiting, I just wanted to clarify on the application for the owner's affidavit. Mr. Burkhart, who is not present, did sign the application, which is granting, approval for this application, even though he's not here, just for the record.
Great, thank you so much. Have we received any emails?
No. Have received none.
All right. Well, then we will close the public comment portion, and we can open it up for a discussion or a motion.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the requested Tim and Sherry White subdivision amended Lot 2 and the Irvin Burkhart lot split second amendment, lot number 1, for the properties addressed 5859 and 5847 South Murray Parkway Avenue, subject to conditions 1 through 5.
I'll second that motion. Sorry.
Very good.
I have a motion by Commissioner Wilson to approve the Tim and Sherry Wyatt subdivision amended lot number 2 and the Irvin Burkhart lot split second amendment, lot number 1, for the properties addressed 5859 and 5847 South Murray Parkway Avenue, subject to the 5 conditions, with a second by Commissioner Malkiewicz. Is there any discussion on that motion? Okay, then we can take a vote.
Okay, Commissioner Malkiewicz.
Yes.
Commissioner Lowry.
Yes.
Commissioner Wilson.
Yes.
Commissioner Pearson.
Yes.
Commissioner Hacker.
Yes.
And Chair Patterson.
Yes. Motion passes. Congratulations on your lot line adjustment.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here. All right, our last agenda item of the evening, a zone map amendment for the properties located at 6556, 6562, and 6566 Jefferson Street. Do we know if the applicant is here this evening? Great. Okay, we'll have our staff report.
Okay. Oh, I wasn't muted. Cool. That works, right? Okay. Thank you. And I just realized that you guys are going to see 100,000 slides all real quick. There we go. All right. Item number 8, Landforge Inc. is requesting a zone map amendment. Not that address, apparently, not 935 West Bouillon Street. You guys have had enough of that one for the moment. I apologize. It's the 6556, 6562, and 6566 South Jefferson Street. It's located in these 3 properties outlined in blue. To note, it does not include this little house here, if you can see my cursor. So it does not include that one, but everything around it. So combined, this equals about 2.68 acres in the R18 zone currently. And the request is to go to the R16 zone. The difference between those zones are the R18 is 8,000 square foot lots, stands for residential, 1 for single family, and 8 for the minimum number of lot size, to R16, which is 6,000 square foot lots. So the general plan does support a rezone here. It's located in the low density residential classification. And as you can see here, it's in the low density classification. And the future land use designation for that does allow for these 6 different zones with R16 included in that. And this is primarily, this zone is intended for residential uses and for planned neighborhoods, things like that. So therefore, we don't need a general plan amendment for this application. The Fashion Place West Small Area Plan, you guys saw this, I believe, at the end of last year in December. The City Council adopted it in February of this year. The subject properties are about here and are located in the established residential area, sub-area for this. And in that sub-area, it specifically calls out that these are well-established and are an asset to the city. These neighborhoods should be preserved with the exception of infill development where underdeveloped parcels exist within the neighborhoods. So looking at that, if we kind of come back to here, you can see that the homes for these properties are kind of built up right around here. And this is largely just open space. This home is kind of pushed farther back, but has a lot of has a lot of accessory structures located on it as well. So it is kind of underdeveloped there. So we are recommending for it, but now I stole my thunder for the last slide. So the process here, the application is being considered tonight for just the zoning map only. Development of the property does require additional applications and additional public comment. So if you do forward a recommendation and the City Council decides to change the zone, you will be seeing this again, either through some sort of subdivision or a planned unit development, anything like that. This will come before you and will come before the public again. And I just like to keep stealing my own thunder here. This last bullet point is the Planning Commission is the recommending body for the City Council. So the City Council is the ultimate deciding body here. You would be making a recommendation to that. So I also put up this slide just kind of showing the differences in the two zones. The R18 on your left, the R16 on your right. As you can see, mostly, largely the same. Side yard setbacks are a little bit different in the R16. It's just 5 feet on both on either side, where in the R18 you have to have 8 on one side and a total of 20 on both. So it has to be like 8 and 12 or 10 and 10, what have you. But largely it's pretty much the same. There is a 5 foot reduction in the front yard, but largely the same. So as well as parking requirements, both require 2 off-street parking spaces. That's very important as well. So I kind of blew through that real quick. So the findings that, the requested zone change has been carefully considered against the general plan, against the Fashion Place West small area plan that, encourages residential density increases for infill developments. And so we are recommending that you forward a recommendation of approval to the City Council for the zone map designation from R18 to R16 in that for those 3 properties. Any questions I can answer at this time?
I have a question, Zach.
Sure.
Can you talk through what the difference is in what the applicant could potentially put on the property as far as residences from changing from R18 to R16?
Sure. So currently under the R18 zone, the applicant, I apologize, would be able to request or would be able to develop 15 dwelling units. that's just under the base R18. And if he decided to go forward, he could do a planned unit development and actually attach those, so they could be attached housing as well, but he could do no more than 15. The R16 allows him to do up to 19, so that's just 4 additional units. And again, through a planned unit development, or PUD as it kind of shows up here, could do like a twin home style project. That's largely what's allowed in these zones. Both of these zones have the same uses. So, I mean, there's like schools and radio towers, residential single family homes.
So when you say twin homes, that's 2 homes together, which equals 2 homes versus 1. So
correct.
19 residents total.
Sure. And I apologize. I don't have I'm trying to think of the word, like an example of exactly what the difference is. So there's duplex, which is 2 units being owned by 1 person. And then there's twin homes, which are 2 single family homes that they share a wall. So it's pretty much, they have a 0 side yard setback, which is permitted through a planned unit development. That's something that if the planning commission feels that that's appropriate, that could be considered.
So Zach, could it also not be multiple units connected then, like a townhome?
Maybe. I kind of had a conversation about this. It could maybe, but the planning commission would have to be okay with reducing, setbacks on additional homes. Like, they would each have to be their own lot, but they would have to have, so like if there were 3, for example, the middle one would have to have 0 setback on both sides, which I have not seen that happen in a planned unit development. I don't expect that to be the case, but that could be a potential.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Zach, I had questions very similar to Commissioner Hackers and Commissioner Pearson about density, but step away from that for a second. I think our city does a great job, and I think our city planners do a great job. I have a lot of respect for you guys, especially after working with you for a little bit. But if we look at the future, I think we could make a few changes that might help here, because density is always a hot topic for everyone. Increasing density is always concerning to everyone. And if we look at our future land map use destination, we say R16 low/medium density. Then at the beginning of our presentation, we said there was going from low density to medium density. And then on the notices we sent out via the Salt Lake Tribune, we stated it was going to move to R16 residence low density. I feel like we kind of switch around the terminology enough to kind of make people concerned when they hear medium, and make us all want to understand better what that entails. So maybe we could try to do a better job being a little bit more consistent in our terminology, so it's off less alarms.
Sure, and I will say that Commissioner Milkevich called and asked about that today. You had called and asked about that today, and I verified with I verified with legal to make sure that our noticing was fine. Really, the important thing is the zone itself. So R16 and R18, as long as that was, that's the key thing there. So I did verify that, make sure, but I agree. Some of that, it's weird. The R16 is a weird duck. It gets called a lot of things, and it's just kind of based on what people use it for.
Yeah,
so
along that line of thought, I really appreciated your description when you initially presented, describing what R16 stood for, R18, and that clarified, I believe. And then I was going to say one more thing. Sorry, Mr. Pearson. But it shows the intent here is still single family.
Yes.
I was just going to make a comment earlier. I think by code, our R16 is considered medium density. Is that correct, Zach?
That's what it says on its title. Yes.
Okay.
But then, in the future land map, what destination we designate R16 low/medium. That's what I meant by inconsistency.
Exactly. Yeah. So I mean, it's consistent kind of all over the place, but that's not uncommon. I will make a little point too. R16, an example of R16 lots in this area are these two units these two homes right here. These are exactly 6,000 square foot lots in this area as well.
So was that rezoned, Zach?
No, it was developed as a planned unit development.
Okay.
So you can usually get the size of the lots, but you're only allowed as much as you're allowed. But that's kind of a topic for another day.
So Zach, because we're looking at the zone map amendment, and I like that you pointed out this Lisa Ray circle, because we're just looking at the zoning, we're not looking at an application for this property. So it could, whatever the developers come and decide to do, they could do another circle, just like Lisa Ray circle as a planned unit development. It doesn't, because we're looking at the zoning, it doesn't necessarily mean that it will be detached houses or twin houses, right? Like the zoning would cover or allow both things. Right, and it would be the same thing too, between R18 or R16. It's just 4 more houses in R16 as opposed to the 15.
Can I ask for one quick clarification? Because a couple times I think we've discussed it. It would go from approximately 16 houses in R18 to approximately 19 houses in R16, but that's 19 lots. And in theory, I mean, there's a lot of ifs here, but in theory, someone could apply for a PUD in which we could approve twin homes, which would mean what's 19 times 2, 38? It could possibly be 38 families?
No, 19. 19 is the number. That's it.
All right. Thank you for that clarification. I was thinking if they could fit 19 6,000 square foot lots on there, then they could have a house that was a twin home on a 6,000 square foot. No, for a twin home, it's considered a lot. So it would be its own lot. The only difference is that it just has that zero foot setback and it has a shared wall. But right, otherwise, it's a single family home. But there's 2 families in that structure. Yes, but the property line goes through that shared wall. Right. As opposed to a duplex where the property line would go around the building. Right, but in theory, then you could have 38 families living on the street. No, not for twin homes, because they would only allow, so the total maximum is 19. We wouldn't allow anything more than 19. So you would get what's 19 divided by 2? I can't do math.
You'd get nine twin homes.
Nine twin homes.
And a loaner.
And probably a single family home by itself.
Okay.
Hey, if I could just maybe clarify a little better the difference between a duplex and a twin home. Both of which require a minimum 10,000 square foot lot size, but the duplex is owned by one owner as one unit, basically, where the twin home has 2 owners. If that helps. Yeah. Susan's correct in that. And adding on to what Zach said, the property line is split down the middle with a common wall, but they each own their own separate unit. And I guess you could say 5,000 square foot lot technically, where the duplex is all one period and one owner.
So the information I was missing is the minimal lot size for a twin home is 10,000 square feet, which would make 5,000 and 5,000. That means, okay, because I was thinking the minimal lot size for a twin home in this R16, it would be 6,000 square feet. Then it'd be 2 sides of a house on 6,000, but no, it's 10,000. Okay.
No, that wouldn't.
discussion now.
Okay, any further questions for staff? We might have more after we talk to the applicant. Is the applicant here?
Yes, I saw the applicant, but he has disappeared. He was here. Oh, there he is. Okay, there he is. Okay.
This is Derek Allen with Landforge, 150 South State Street in Salt Lake City, Utah.
Great, thank you. Thanks for being here.
Happy to be
Do
here.
you have any additional information that you would like to give us regarding this application?
I have all sorts of information that I'm looking forward to sharing at the right point. We've had good conversations with planning staff regarding the development of concepts in preparation. We've done an extension on forming those concepts now so that we can share them when we come in with the proper next step applications for a PUD and or conditional use permit, as the case may be. So we're happy to be taking this first step on zoning to allow us to move to that point.
Great, thank you so much. Okay, well then I think that we'll open this item for public comment. If you would like to make a comment to this agenda item, you may do so by emailing planningcommission@murray.utah.gov. Or if you would like to participate in this meeting through the Zoom webinar registration, you can make a live comment and raise your hand. Do we have anyone on, Zach, that has registered to make a live comment?
Commissioner, did we have any residents comment prior to the meeting or call in?
Yeah, we'll read those emails in. Okay, if you are going to make a live comment, we ask that you limit your comments to 3 minutes. If you have already submitted an email comment previous to the meeting, it will now be read into the record, and we ask that you do not make any additional live comments. So Zach, do you want to do the live comments first or email comments first?
Let's do the email comment first, and then we'll have, that way we get some more people if they want to.
Perfect.
Click to add.
Okay, I guess I'm going to read the one public comment for Zach. Okay, thanks.
Yes, please.
All right, this one was received yesterday, 14th, from Jeff Jorgensen, who is a resident at 6588 South Jefferson Street. And his email says, I am ready to share my opinion about the proposed zone map amendment from R18 to R16 for Jefferson Street. I'm excited to hear about the potential for new homes in the neighborhood. However, I have 2 observations to make. First, there is about 3 times the space for future development along the east side of Jefferson Street. The zoning that gets approved here will be a blueprint for the future development across the street. Increasing the housing density on the west side of Jefferson paves the way for a future density increase on the east side of Jefferson. Any way you look at it, Jefferson is going to get a lot more homes. It's just a matter of time and a matter of density. Changing the zoning represents a 25% increase in the number of potential new homes, but the impact of this will be tripled with additional development. This decision is bigger than the 3 lots in question. Second, Murray City's own data shows that Jefferson Street is an extremely busy street. Hundreds of motorists use the street to bypass the congestion of State Street. Jefferson Street is already too busy and motorists speed down the road daily. The road is narrow. A single car parked along the street can cause significant disruption. Additionally, and perhaps most importantly, there are no sidewalks on Jefferson Street. This isn't a good location to be changing zoning to increase vehicle traffic and foot traffic. The street is not family friendly at all. We already worry about our children walking, riding, and scootering up and down the road. Changing the zoning here is a blueprint for future development. Jefferson Street will get even busier and the safety issues along the street will come into play even more. Jefferson Street will get its development. Let's not increase the density 25% by changing the zoning. The street is already strained. Thank you. And that's the only one I think we've got.
Okay, so I will go ahead and start the live comments if you guys are ready. Okay. And Ms. Dawson, you're able to unmute yourself and speak now.
Amazing. Can you hear me? Great.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody. I agree with everything Jeff mentioned in his email. And forgive the little story I'm about to tell. This is my first city meeting. But my name is Becky Dawson, and I live at 6582 South Jefferson Street. And I'd like to comment on the proposed zoning change. Due to the fact that twin homes / townhomes are an option, and I really do probably think that that would be the route it would go if it did get rezoned. I believe that the city should keep the zoning as an R18 because there are many families with small children living in the area. When I decided to buy my home in Murray, I decided to do it because it boasts of a stable neighborhood known for its close-knit community. My dad grew up a few blocks away from here and with few large changes for as long as he's been alive. As a matter of fact, the first thing he said when we turned onto Jefferson Street to look at the house that I now own was, "Oh, this is the street I chased a parrot down when I was a kid." So, as we all know, Murray City is a special place. I think there's a reason that 39.6% of the land is R18 and only 2.3% is R16. I believe that we should keep it that way for as long as we possibly can. In my opinion, changing the zoning will create a number of issues in the long run. Things like more traffic on the road, speeding on the road, increased crime rate, which we know is something that is on the radar right now due to the front page article in the City Journal this month, massive impact on traffic flow in the area with the track station. Guest parking will be a huge concern. Kids of the new houses will have nowhere to recreate except the streets. We'll have lower quality of life due to the denser housing. Let's remember that we're going from 3 houses here to either 15 or 19. So either way you look at it, it's a big jump, but 15 to 19 seems more. So I think the list could go on, but ultimately, I think we have to remember what makes Murray special and try to hang on to that as long as we possibly can for future generations. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Becky. I'm going to do this. Okay, and now, Mr. Jensen, you should be able to unmute yourself and speak now too.
Thank you, Stephen Jensen, 218 Lisa Ray Circle. Similar comments that was just been made by the 2 previous individuals. I think the potential this is a bad idea. Anytime that we get more people in there or the infrastructure has been mentioned in Jefferson can't handle it, it's a bad idea. When I look at your slide that talked about the proposal and then Lisa Ray's housing, they look like they're about the same size. We have 10 houses, and somehow on what looks to be about the same size, they're going to get possibly 19. It just doesn't add up. They're not that much different in size by looking at the slide. And I just think this is, some of it's premature probably in the argument for the next meeting, but this should be stopped as soon as possible. Thanks.
Thank you for your comment. Have there been any additional email comments that have come in, Zach or Susan?
No.
No, I have not seen any. There has been another hand raised though. So
okay.
Hold on one
Great.
second. Okay, you should be able to unmute yourself now.
Howdy, this is John Betcher, and I live over on 125 West Leicester Avenue. And I too am concerned about the additional traffic. Like was stated before, many cars are using Jefferson and Leicester Street as a bypass to get around the Winchester and Winchester and State Street intersection during the day. There is no current sidewalks along either Jefferson or Leicester, so there's oftentimes kids in the streets, and I think adding additional unnecessary traffic at this time is a bad idea. I think it's going to be a safety risk for children, and I really think that we should keep this to a minimum until these other issues can be addressed.
Great, thank you for that comment. Any other live comments, Zach?
I do not see any at this time.
Okay. And then if there's been no additional email comments, I think we can close the public comment portion of this meeting. Okay, so are there any questions after the public comment? I know that some people kind of mentioned like sidewalks or infrastructure, Zach, and do you want to speak to, these projects? I mean, I don't know if we know if there's a plan to put sidewalks in.
Can address some of those. I apologize. I'm getting some feedback. I don't know why though. So yeah, some of the things that I took away, one of the large ones was traffic. When something comes forward, typically with like a PUD, the city engineer will evaluate and see whether a traffic study is needed for this area for any proposed development. We're not at that point yet. But I will say that the city engineer has evaluated this application and recommended for the zone change. He didn't have any objections to it. And then let's see, sidewalks. Yeah, in the Fashion Place West small area plan, it specifically calls out that there are the neighborhoods to the south and the neighborhoods to the north. Both of them are lacking basic pedestrian infrastructure. And that is a goal of mine. No spoilers, Ned, but that's what I'm hoping to kind of start to pursue, is trying to do some sort of go after some grant money here late in the fall to hopefully get a plan in place to address those streetscape improvements. So that is ongoing. I will say that if this does get rezoned and this applicant does go forward, he will be required to install improvements on those sections of Jefferson that. So I believe when I talked to somebody, I measured it and it was about 102 feet that we would expect to get sidewalk in there. So it is a concern of ours. I'm very, very much pro walkability. I want things there to be walkable because it is close to the transit station. So you should be able to get there fairly easy. And I think in getting a plan together to really focus on how we can get funding to install those kinds of improvements is important.
That's great to hear, Zach, that because I know that we talked about that in the small area plan, the connectivity, but the other thing that comes to mind is somebody else mentioned, as this west side develops, there's other properties on the east side that maybe could potentially get developed in the future too. And, my mind kind of goes to, as those properties develop, usually there are requirements to improve the landscaping the sidewalks, the gutters, all of those things, those public improvements that maybe aren't there. So maybe as properties develop, that'll be a benefit to the whole street.
Exactly. Yeah, that's our intent. And that's why, I want to go after additional funding to hopefully get a plan in place so we can actually dictate what those sidewalk widths should be and how that should look in the future. Right now, I don't have anything.
Is it open to include lighting so kids could play the sidewalk in the evening, possibly?
It could include that, yeah, in the future for sure. That's something that I would definitely do. And I know just with talking with Mr. Allen, he's very aware of the area. He's done a lot of study of this area, and he would, I have no doubt, be willing to work with us as staff to make sure to make that as safe as possible as well. So.
One other thing that I wanted to ask you that someone mentioned in their public comment was that kids will be playing in the streets. And I just wanted to ask, I mean, these, whether it's R18 or R16, these properties would probably have yards, right? Or some kind of outdoor space. And I mean, remind me, because the planned unit development usually is required to have some kind of amenity, right?
You are 100% correct. Yes. So if for some reason, yes, for one, if it's a traditional subdivision, then yes, it's going to have yard space. 8,000. If it's R16, it's going to have a 6,000 square foot lot. You can just go by Wynwood; they have backyards, front yards, and the like. And there is a requirement there for like an open space requirement and an amenity space. And yeah, so 100% correct. That is a requirement.
Great. Other questions for staff regarding the public comments?
I don't have any questions. I do have some comments, though. That's okay.
Yeah.
As I looked through this, a couple things stood out to me. One of them is, in our analysis, one of the questions we ask is there a need for change in the zoning at the subject location for the neighborhood or community? And I think the real answer to that is no, there's not a need. So my concern with changing this from R18 to R16 is, it's been mentioned already in this meeting that most of our land that is zoned R18. And the general plan, everything is zoned R18, potentially supports a rezone on the general plan to R16 or even a higher density than that. And so if we approve this and rezone this from R18 to R16, the entire sea of Murray yellow, if you look at the zone map, is a potential for rezone to R16. The other concern I have is, if you look at these properties, one of these properties I'm very familiar with used to be a homestead property where they were farming on it. And so the entire property, there was one person on it. And so we're already increasing the density a lot. Do we really have a need to jump to the next level just because somebody wants to? So I think those are my concerns with rezoning it. Well, I understand too, there's a property rights thing here, but is every developer now going to want to rezone every R18 to R16?
And I can address that. And the short answer is no. We very much are cognizant of what applications and what things we support as staff. So specifically, this one was looked at due to its its location to Fashion Place West. A lot of the commissioners and a lot of the city council, through the adoption of the Fashion Place West area, small area plan, and the general plan, have designated and have stated goals that increased densities and increased housing should occur near track stations and light rail and any of our transit stations. And so originally, I'll give you a little background. This was originally came to us as a multifamily unit application. And we kind of talked through it and kind of got what his concept was for the area. And we said, we can do this in a single family manner. And so this is just a gentle, I call it gentle increase in density, as opposed to moving it up to something more multifamily, because we are aware of this area. But if you were to, we could take, for example, if the commissioners would remember, across the street from the mall, there was a request for a dental office from single family residential to go to GO, and now that same office is being built off Winchester, mind you, and the commission voted. I think the commission said no, that it's not appropriate that this go from single family because it is close to that area. So it's not that everything that is R18 will go to R16. This is specifically because of the goals that are outlined in the general plan and in the Fashion Place West small area plan.
Zach, can I add to that discussion? Hopefully add to that discussion. I want to first I want to say that sometimes my comments aren't exactly my beliefs, and I feel like sometimes that's my role to support what the community needs, even if it is exactly my belief. I say that because, I mean, I personally would love to live on a 100-acre farm. I wish we all could, but that's not reality, right? So I like space. But for devil advocate, or just to complete the discussion, make it a more in-depth discussion, Mr. Peterson was stating, is a zone change in our favor? I think the argument can be made either way, and I would personally have an opinion, but to argue the other side. Nationwide, there's discussion about the cost of lands and housing and how no one can afford housing, and one way to correct that through government is to allow for more houses on smaller plots of land. So we might be doing what's right for our community if we need homes and we need single family homes and we can't afford what we're currently doing. So, that argument, it's a tough spot to be in. We're in a tough spot.
Thanks, Lisa. I think the question though says, is there a need for change? Which I think there may be. I mean, it may be, is it beneficial to change that? Maybe. Is it needed? I don't know. I agree, though. We could argue both ways that if we're talking about the residents of Murray, there would be a portion of them that would say they don't want this, and there would be a portion that would say they do.
And those things.
If I could interject really quickly, the plan will change. The plan does change. It's not a 100-year plan. It's they're revised. They're revised. Zach and Susan, feel free to chime in how often, but it's usually 7 to 10 years, I believe. What's that?
Yep, you're right. 10 years.
And they're revised to reflect the current realities. Frankly, when the first home that when I moved to Murray, the first time we bought in Murray was 16, 17 years ago. The world was a different place then. And the world will be a different place in another 15 or 16 years. And so the plans are living documents, and they are not terminal documents. And this body is not going to approve. It doesn't have the authority to approve this change. It's simply a recommendation if we think that this is an acceptable use. I think if you look at cities that have been in the growth pattern the greater Salt Lake area is in and is going to. You can go look at Denver. You can look at other Intermountain cities where they've had investment in light rail, and they've had investment in public transportation. The hottest real estate in those markets is very dense, very large, multifamily, very close to light rail, not unlike the Fireclay development that's in Murray. And so I think that, as much as I would agree with Commissioner Lukevich, and I assume with you, Commissioner Pearson, that, I really love, quarter acre. I'm not as aspirational as Commissioner Lukevich. Quarter, third acre lots are nice for me. But that may not be the reality with the situation that we're in, and the plan, the plan will change in the future. And, really the question is, do we recommend changing this now? And, my take, frankly, is, I think in 5 years and 7 years and 10 years and in 20 years, the density for a piece of property, this will only, the need and the demand for that density will only increase. And so I think that, this will be a lower density use than what it would be in the future, if that makes sense.
I agree with what you're saying, Jeremy. I think if we left this zone R1A, I think it would be developed, and then it would be that density for probably the next 40, 50, maybe 100 years. I agree, though, that the zoning has to change as, population grows. One of my biggest concerns is just, if you look, that we already have an R18 neighborhood just right next to it. And so I think we have places in Murray City where we could increase density. We're increasing density. I mean, we're not going to change this. If we vote this down, we wouldn't change the zone, but we're increasing the density of housing already. So I don't know.
So I gotta ask another question based on what you just said. So in theory, if we as a commission decide it would best to recommend it stays R18, a builder could still come in with a request for a PUD and maybe possibly get the same thing they were going after if it was R16, or am I wrong?
Only be able to get the 15 as opposed to 19. That's yeah.
That was going to be my comment, I guess, in answer to Commissioner Pearson's question is, what's the need for change? And the way I see it is, the need is there's 4 more people that could buy a house there.
I agree,
that's
but
15, but we need houses, and that is 4 additional families that could buy a house there, that if we leave it at R18 and develop it as a PUD, that 4 people wouldn't have the opportunity to do that.
Or Commissioner Patterson, it might be 19 people who could afford a house because it'll be less expensive than the 14 houses there. Oh my goodness.
So let me just speak to that. So I agree with what you're saying, but then do we have a need to rezone every piece of property that's R18 in the entire city to R16 or higher based on that argument?
We would look at every single property that came, we would look at every single property and decide, yes, does that make sense to zone that R16, or would that need to stay R18, right?
But if
it's a hard statement to say,
or to your question,
looking at specific individual requests and applications and properties, right? Like, we really are carefully examining each individual property and that comes. No, I don't think we would then say, oh, every house that's zoned R18 in the whole city has the potential to be rezoned R16. That's not what we're saying by rezoning this property.
Or in response to Commissioner Peterson's question, no, we are considering this plot of land as per the study done for this area's recommendations.
Right, that all of that feeds into this specific project.
I agree with what you're saying. If the only argument, though, is to change the zoning on this is to increase the density so we can increase the number of houses, then almost everywhere in Murray,
No, the
we would,
No.
would have
No.
the same argument.
place.
But we do each piece as it comes in front of us.
I agree. I agree. We do each piece as it comes from us. I'm not saying that we would just blanket write a thing that everybody can change it. What I'm saying is, for this a piece of property, if the only argument to change the zone from R18 to R16 is so we can fit more houses, then wouldn't that apply to almost every other zone change?
But what we're saying is not the only argument, because there's been a study done recommending this area for a slightly lower cost house on a slightly smaller piece of property because of its proximity to the freeway and to transit hubs.
I understand. So everywhere in those areas, I understand that.
Well, and one of the things I like about this proposal is we have a maximum of 19 houses. The maximum would be 19. We're not talking about 220 or 400 or a 50-foot high building. We're talking about, if it goes to R16, the maximum height on a building in that zone is 30 feet. And to me, that's a great bonus for the neighbors that live around there, because they don't have to worry about a 40-foot high stacked apartment building. I mean, an R16 is a great compromise, because look how well the Garbett subdivision did on 7th West and 6400, just down the street. I mean, that's a great project. That has allowed more people to buy in Murray. And when that originally opened, it was at a price point that made it a possibility. Of course, we all know that the housing market is crazy right now. And so I'm thinking, if 4 more houses gives me or one of my kids the chance to live on a lot that's maybe smaller and more manageable, we need more of that. Not everybody wants a third of an acre. Not everybody has a riding lawnmower. It's just, it makes sense for that area in the Fashion Place West plan to have that as a possibility. And, I just think if you're looking at 15 houses as opposed to 19 houses, it's not that big a number change. It's just not. And I look at how nice Lisa Ray Circle is right next to it. And I think we're probably going to be looking at the same type of structures. Builders are smart. They want to build a nice product. And I'm not, I have no affiliation with this builder or anything, but I just know that Murray needs houses. And people want to live in Murray. And this is an option for that we don't get a lot of times when we get, in front of us like a RM15 proposal. Those actually own a house in Murray. I think we need to support that.
Zach, could I ask you for a favor? You referenced some language in the general plan during your presentation that gave some guidance concerning the infill subdivisions that would be contemplated for this specific area. Do you mind reviewing that one more time for us?
Yes. Am I on mute? No, I'm not. Okay, good. I just sit there and think about it. So it's right here. This is the most direct, and this is actually called out in the Fashion Place West Small Area Plan. This is where it says these neighborhoods should be preserved with the exception of infill development where underdeveloped parcels exist within the neighborhoods in this sub area.
So if I could, to me, this development is the very definition of what's in the plan. I think the plan actually, while this would require the city council to vote to amend the plan, I think the plan contemplated infill development such as this, and I think that I miss the neighborhoods that I grew up in. I wish that I wish that economically it was viable. The world has just changed. We live in a city where density is a reality, and frankly, I'm relieved to have. If there's 19 units there, I'm relieved to have 19 parcels and 19 individual owners, and I'm relieved to have that. And I believe that that when this plan was put together, it did contemplate developments such as this. I think that it's pretty clear how I feel about it. I'm happy to listen to other folks, and I respect Commissioner Pearson, your point of view a great deal. I think that I have a part of me that feels exactly the same. But I do think this is an opportunity to have a development in an area that's close to transit that will be that hopefully is affordable for folks to be able to own a home in Murray, and will be a positive catalyst for the rest of that area.
I think it's important. I just mentioned I actually live in an R16 neighborhood, so I can't be against them too much.
Did you want me to leave this up, Commissioner Lowry?
No, I sorry, I made my point. Thank you for your help.
Well, great discussion. Is there any additional comments that anyone wants to make before we vote?
Mrs. Chair, I just wanted to say I appreciate the discussion. I do.
Very robust. I liked it. It's great.
Great job, everyone. Any other thoughts? Okay, then I will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion. So I will make a motion to forward a recommendation of approval to the City Council for the requested amendment for the zoning map designation of the properties located at 6556, 6562, 6566 South Jefferson Street from R18 low density single family to R16 medium density single family.
Great. Do I have a second?
I will second.
Okay, so I have a motion made by Commissioner Lowry to forward a recommendation of approval to the City Council for the requested amendment to the zoning map designation of properties located at 6556, 6562, and 6566 South Jefferson Street from R8 low density single family to R16 medium density single family, and a second by Commissioner Wilson. Any discussion on that motion? Okay, then we can take a vote.
All right, Commissioner Lowry.
Yes.
Commissioner Wilson.
Yes.
Commissioner Pearson.
Yes.
Commissioner Milkevich.
Yes.
Commissioner Hacker.
Yes.
And Chair Patterson.
Yes. So that motion will move forward to the City Council, and the public participating, that is a recommendation that goes to the City Council. So that's also a place to go and make your public comment, and they will read all of the minutes from this meeting, but also want to hear additional comments. So that's the next step for this. So, okay. Is there any other business?
I don't think so. Susan kind of told you that Bullion is coming back. So it is coming back May 6th with everything that we think. So that's really the only thing on the agenda though. So it'll still be a late night, I anticipate. And yeah, we're still in the discussion phase about, especially with this item, whether we'll be back in person at the first in May, because it does have such a large public comment body. We're trying to decide whether we want to try and manage that. So we're still trying to hammer that out. I think we're leaning towards having it virtual still, and then going back on May 20th. But we'll make sure you guys are informed on that too. So.
And I've got a question. I hung on to my traffic study and all of my paperwork from last time. will we be getting like new information on that part? I know we'll be getting new application, but should I go ahead and hang on to my traffic study still, or?
We'll probably still include this traffic study from, I don't think it will have changed. I don't know, Susan, do you know if he's updated it?
The traffic study will remain the same. So if those of you who want to keep your copies, that would be appreciated. But if you don't, we're happy to supply that with you. And there's always a link that you can link to the packet.
Okay. And
the application is a slight difference. He's modified his request. So.
And then the environmental issues that are going to be involved in that piece of property, that will be addressed in the new packet as well, as far as dust containment and things like that.
I'm sure we will include that again, as we did in the past. Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, but other than that, I don't really have anything else.
Okay.
Okay, then motion to adjourn at 8:12.
Thank you, Commissioner Wilson. All in favor?
Second.
Okay.
Agree.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
See you guys.
Have a great evening.
You as well.